Scores of still and video portraits form a grid. A logo appears. On the left, comedy and tragedy masks wear lip-readable face coverings above musical notes flowing from the tip of a paintbrush. On the right, a black silhouette of Alice Shepherd, a dancer using a wheelchair. Text reads, ADA Lead On, honoring National Disability Employment Awareness Month. NDEAM. Sign language interpreters and captions accompany each speaker and performer throughout this program. This program is also open audio described by Michelle Spitz of Woman of Her Word.
Hi everyone, I'm Corey Anthony, Chief Diversity and Development Officer at AT&T. Thank you for inviting me to say a few words on behalf of the company. At AT&T, we understand that accessibility is more than a word. It's a commitment to connect people to the world around them and to treat them with dignity and respect that every human being deserves. That's ultimately what our commitment to diversity and inclusion is about, and it's why we advocate for equal employment opportunity for all. We recognize that despite changes in law, people with disabilities have consistently faced the highest rates of unemployment. And at AT&T, we're proud to have established the Accessibility and Inclusion Initiative. It's a joint effort between our compliance and our diversity teams. This initiative centers on support and education, but also tangible actions that help to make our workplace fully accessible and inclusive. We will continue to invest in this initiative and expand its impact, notably through advanced technology that further enhances accessibility. So while this is just one of the ways that we are putting people at the center of our diversity and inclusion efforts, I hope it illustrates to you that at AT&T, we challenge ourselves every day to create an inclusive workplace for employees with disabilities. Now more than ever, it's important that we remember our differences are not a barrier. They are a bridge that brings us together, opens our minds, and unites us in the common purpose of building a more equitable society. On behalf of AT&T, thank you for all that you do and for allowing us to be a part of this important conversation.
Curbing horizontal lines transect a blue circle. AT&T.
Hi, I'm Maysoon Zayed.
And I'm Danny Woodburn.
And we are here to celebrate
fanfare right now, NDEAM.
NDEAM.
Well, NDEAM.
Which stands for National Disability Employment Awareness Month, the longest name for any month ever given.
And each year, the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy designates October as National Disability Employment Awareness Month. This year's theme is increasing access and opportunities.
This entire show, it features all disabled talent. The best of the best. We'll be talking about legislation, journalism, entertainment, and best of all, employment.
Because they've been hired. So,
by us.
By us. That's right, baby. So sit back,
relax, and enjoy the show.
The NDEAM logo splits down the middle and moves left and right. The word journalism emerges in the top center of the screen. A digital illustration by artist Elaine Otstadt. An ombre green and gray heart contains the name Lydia written in neon green font. The swooping cursive lines of the font resemble Arabic writing. White reflections on the heart and the font make them appear glossy and three-dimensional. And now, writer, lawyer, and community organizer for disability justice, Lydia X.C. Brown.
For me, as an openly queer and trans disabled person of color, I almost never see perspectives or experiences like mine represented, whether that's in news coverage of literally anything, but also disability, or whether that is in TV or movies or on stage. It is so often the norm that you have non-disabled people talking about disability, playing disabled characters, and to the extent that there are disabled people in these roles, it is so rare for them to be disabled people of color. Usually, if there are any disabled people who are present, they're white disabled men. And we don't see disabled women of color in particular, non-binary people, queer and trans people. And I want better, and I want more for us. I want us to be represented past heartwarming, tear-jerking stories meant for non-disabled people to feel good about themselves and to see ourselves, to see stories and television shows and news that is written for us that is meant for us to be the audience and to be the participants and for us to be designing and writing and editing. I want to see a world in which disabled people are not an afterthought or tokenistically used, but in which we are central, and in which disabled people of color and queer and trans disabled people of color are at the forefront and center.
I have with me today Alice Wong. Alice is a disabled activist, media maker, and consultant based in San Francisco. She is the founder and director of the Disability Visibility Project, an online community dedicated to creating, sharing, and amplifying disability media and culture. So let's talk about the importance of disabled journalists when it comes to reporting on disability issues rather than non-disabled journalists.
Really, in journalism and just publishing in other forms of media is the fact that when you talk and write a report about a community, it often makes sense to have people in the newsroom, people, who are making the decisions about these stories,
Right.
to be reflective of those communities. Nobody is saying they can't cover disability. What we're saying is that we need more people covering every community, and that there should be, parity. And we're nowhere close to that yet.
The discussion around pre-existing conditions and the discussion around disability. Are you recognizing any mistakes that you feel are being reported on by non-disabled writers when they report on things like pre-existing conditions and the effect of COVID-19 on disabled patients?
Well, I would say that there's definitely some mistakes, I think. For example, there's a lot of conversation, they're reporting about outbreaks in nursing homes. And, time and time again, they bring up older adults and how they're high risk, but they fail to report that people of all ages are trapped in nursing homes, and that it's not just older people that are impacted, not just nursing homes, it's about prisons, it's about detention centers, it's about assisted living facilities. I think this is part of the broader systemic issues that disabled activists have been talking about in terms of just linking this also to the fight for the right to live in the community. What is so scary about the word disability and the fact that both older people and all kinds of people are, considered disabled, especially if we look at the way that disability is defined under the ADA.
What do you think major media companies need to do to engage with disabled writers to shift the paradigm away from ableist reporting?
Well, very simply, pay us. I think, there's a wealth of talent out there of disabled writers, reporters, journalists, editors, producers, I want to see disabled people in every division, at a newspaper media. I mean, that to me is the goal. It's not just about reporters. I think it's about this larger ecosystem, and I think that's really where the shift needs to take place. It's a shift in culture, a shift in the way work is constructed, but also very much clearly it's about hiring.
So do you have advice for those people in power, the powers that be, to speed up that process of shifting the paradigm?
Well, I would say look at your budgets and look at the lip service you pay toward diversity and pay it. Just like access. I mean, we want accessible media as well. So, if you really care about DEI, as they say, diversity, equity, and inclusion, you're gonna find the resources, the people, and the talents, and the money to create videos and online content and all kinds of content that's accessible.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Alice. Where can we find your work?
Well, my website is disabilityproject.com, and I'm also on Twitter at SF Direwolf. That's
SF Direwolf. I like that. SF Direwolf.
SFDIREWOLF.
I like that. Well, thank you so much, Alex. Great talking to you today.
Well, thanks for having me. Take care, Danny.
Yeah, you too.
Hi, journalists. My name is Kia Brown. I am also a journalist and an author and a screenwriter. I wrote the book, The Pretty One, on life, pop culture, disability, and other reasons to fall in love with me, which is available for purchase right now if you're into that sort of thing. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to offer you some advice. What I've learned in my career thus far that I think can help you as you move forward is to keep going, even when it seems tough, even when it seems like it's nearly impossible, and we're not getting the stories we want to get, we're not being able to tell them the way we want to tell them due to whatever reason. Keep going. I know that with Corona, it's a little harder to tell stories right now, and I've found that doing that online is, a nice alternative right now, and I think that it can be frustrating to see all these publications that we admire and look up to tell us mere months ago that remote work was impossible, and now it's possible because, coronavirus and non-disabled people need that accommodation that we've always needed. But I think that it is very important not to give up on yourself, not to give up on the work, and not to give up on your dream of sharing the news, whatever that news may be, whether it's politics, human interest pieces, pop culture pieces, what have you. Don't give up on yourself, don't give up on the profession, and really just keep going when it feels like it's impossible. And when it feels like there's, no reason to, there's always a reason. There's somebody out there waiting to hear from you, waiting to hear the stories that you have to tell. I'm already very proud of you, already rooting for you, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Kia Brown's book appears on the screen. Musician and singer Galen Lee, a brunette woman of short stature, uses a wheelchair.
Did you know that when I get angry, I breathe fire? I could burn this place down. You may not realize all of the small ways I am not welcome, but just take a look around. Still, everybody knows that you need a place to go. And living isn't easy if you incinerate your home. And so I stay. And so I stay. I may seem angry, so please forgive me, but I am still not free in this society. How long must we keep fighting for our right to be living? Wrongs overdue for righting. We're a bit too forgiving. So if you hear them make claims of progress, take a good look and see who isn't fair. We need a seat now at the table, so please invite us, or don't pretend to care.
The Google logo appears against a white background.
Hello, my name is Vince Cerf. I'm Google's Chief Internet Evangelist. And I'm proud to say that Google is among the sponsors of this celebration of the National Disabilities Employment Awareness Month. Although we really think you shouldn't have to be reminded that employing people with disabilities is a good idea. Everyone, disabilities or not, sometimes needs some accommodation just to get their work done. So at Google, we're pleased to hire people with disabilities, and we hope you will be too. So please join us in celebrating this important reminder.
Fun facts. Under a magnifying glass, a word appears. Facts.
Hi, I'm Reggie Luck, and here's a fun fact. Thanks to the Fair Labor Standards Act, a law from 1938 when segregation was still a thing and people thought Martians landed in New Jersey, it's still legal to pay disabled workers sub-minimum wage based on an antiquated concept that dismisses us and treats us as if we're lucky to be hired at any price. Businesses are permitted to pay us less than half the lowest wage other workers can receive to do the same job.
Hi, my name is PJ Swan and I live in Stockton, California. I transitioned from school to work because of self-advocacy and storytelling. This summer I worked on Let's Work California, a YouTube project with a video and a networking guide to help students transition from school to work. The guide has activities to help you practice networking and talking to people about the jobs and career you want. Since it is a National Disability Employment Awareness Month, we wanted to share our Let's Work projects and YouTube channel with you. Here is part of my video. Check it out. I feel valued because of where I work and who I work with. Storytelling helps me be more confident. It helped me be the best of me, and I'm proud of that. I want you to be proud of you too. Do the best you can. Don't be nervous, and you can do it. You can tell your story, and you can work too. Please subscribe to the Let's Work YouTube channel. Join me so we can all work together.
A slide appears with a hand holding a smartphone displaying the Let's Work YouTube channel. The Let's Work project is coordinated by the California Transition Alliance and sponsored by the California State Council on Developmental Disabilities. Visit youtube.com/letsworkca to view documentaries, instructional videos, and testimonials to increase customized, integrated employment for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. A black and white drawn image by Marie Dagenet Lewis titled, "Don't Let the Pain Do You In." A person with mouth wide open and nose obscured by watercolor-like dots in shades of black and gray. A swirling black brush stroke loops down around the person's head. Delicate veins of gold form a marbled pattern over the cloud of dots. The NDEAM logo splits down the middle and moves left and right. The word legislation emerges in the top center of the screen. And now, Steve Way from the Hulu hit show Raimi.
After I graduated college, I was so excited. Finally, I got to start such a big chapter of my life and do absolutely nothing. And then after a while, I realized, shit, I need a job. So after thinking really hard about it, I realized I wanted a job that would pay me for doing the least amount of work possible. So I became a high school substitute teacher. Ironically, it was the high school that I went to as a student and the same high school that as a student I sued. You see, when I went there, they had a wheelchair ramp, but it was pretty far from my locker, so I wanted one that was closer. So I sued them. So they hired me pretty quickly, and you know what? I loved that job. The kids were amazing. They were so helpful and respectful. But after a while, I got bored. I wanted to do something else, and I realized I wasn't making enough money. And then I got this great opportunity. I was told that I could make so much more money. I could have a much better schedule. I don't have to work that many days. But the big problem was that I had to make an absolute fool of myself. I had to humiliate myself at the expense of other people. So that's why I became a sitcom actor.
Now, Maysoon interviews disability rights attorney and author Haben Girma.
So, Haben, let's jump into this interview. I was hoping that by the time I interviewed you, America would have COVID under control, but it does not. So during the pandemic, people are turning to tech more than ever. What should people working in technology know about legislation?
So legislation is broad. It covers everything from recent laws to plans to create laws and ancient laws. So for me as a person with a disability and an attorney inspired by the Americans with Disabilities Act, one of the most important pieces of legislation is the ADA. And the ADA prohibits discrimination against disabled people. We just celebrated the 30th anniversary of the ADA. And the ADA prohibits medical facilities and other organizations from denying service even during the pandemic. There's some people who think that ADA doesn't matter in emergencies. Actually, during emergencies, it's when it matters the most because lives are at risk. Disabled lives matter. Black disabled lives matter. So it's really important that people remember the ADA still exists and we're still going to call on it.
So what's your advice? Because it's really important that you let people know why I called you the dopest girl in government. You had a really cool job. Tell them what your job was, and then what's your advice for disabled people interested in running for office on any level, whether it's local, state, or federal?
So I have had 2 jobs in government. They were summer internship positions, one with the U.S. Department of Education Office for Civil Rights, and another one with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, also a summer internship when I was at law school. And then when I was working as an attorney at a law firm in Berkeley, I was invited to meet President Obama and Vice President Joe Biden at the White House to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the ADA. That was an incredible honor. I miss having great leaders. Wow. I really wish we get leaders in 2020 and 2021 who will protect people from this virus and the fires and the hurricanes and make life better for all of us.
Well, your wish will hopefully be our command. And it leads like perfectly into my next question. This is the biggest election of our lifetime. I mean, disabled lives are at stake. People of color are at stake. Democracy is at stake. Do you have a voting plan? Because I know it's like, I don't think a lot of people know that disabled people are like 25% of the population. We're a swing vote, but we face a lot of challenges when going to the polls. So do you have a voting plan for 2020?
I absolutely have a voting plan. It's critical that everyone votes, especially those of us who are disabled and Black, people of color. Plan how you will get your vote out. So there are technically accessible, there's supposed to be accessible voting machines, but oftentimes barriers come up when you try to use them. So for me, my plan is to send my vote in the mail and to do it as soon as I receive my ballot, because there have been many concerns that the mail will be delayed or shut down. So vote as early as possible. As soon as you get your ballot, send it in the mail if you're doing voting by mail. If you're going to go in person, also be mindful of the coronavirus and wear a face mask. Minimize contact with other people. So it's really important to take the time to come up with a plan, because there's so many barriers trying to stop you from voting. But it's really important that we have leaders who care about us and do something about this virus and the fires and climate change. So plan to vote. What are you doing, Maysoon? What's your plan?
My plan is to, from now until Election Day, be available on Twitter to people who can't figure out how to vote by mail, who can't find an accessible polling station. I'm volunteering as tribute to try and figure those things out for them. And then I'm a bad girl. I'm going to the polls the day of because I live in a little village and there's like 8 of us and there's no line. But thank you so much for joining us. I just love talking to you. I love hanging out with you. I want you to be a co-host on my dream disabled version of The View. Stay alive till we meet again. Thank you, Haben.
A pleasure to do conversations with you, Maysoon. I love your humor and your determination to make our world better, basically.
Thank you.
The book, Haben, The Deafblind Woman Who Conquered Harvard Law, appears on screen. Next, a PSA for disability voting.
Square images of posters and leaders of the disability rights movement fall into a pattern. John Hoffman and others with Tom Wilson holding a flag. Deborah Jackson holding a poster. Vote as if your life depends on it, because it does. Justin Dart. Chris Goad holds a poster. Label jars, not people. Power concedes nothing without a demand. Adapt. James Payne holds a poster. Bob Kafka. Hands spell vote in ASL. Larry Hughes holds a Rev Up poster. Sandra Petty, Stephen Ty.
I change the world when I vote. You change the world when you vote. And we change the world when we vote together.
The square images fill in the space to form the words Rev Up. Register, educate, vote. Use your power. Make the disability vote count. www.aapd.com.
My name is Elaine Katz, and I'm Senior Vice President of Grants and Communications at Kessler Foundation. We are proud to be a sponsor of NDEAM 2020 and ADA Lead On. Kessler Foundation has invested over $270 million in research to improve cognition and mobility for people with disabilities, in addition to funding innovative employment initiatives for individuals with disabilities. Although COVID has challenged us to reflect and think differently, transforming our lives in ways we could not have previously imagined, increasing access and opportunity for employment remains central to the independence of people with disabilities. In our ever-changing economy, it is the right of people with disabilities to be treated fairly and valued equally in the workplace, having the same opportunities to success and be compensated fairly for their work.
And now, Neil Romano, chairman of NCD, the National Council on Disability, speaks amidst baseball paraphernalia.
As we once again observe National Disability Employment Month, it's absolutely essential that we remember the reason we have this month is because there are millions of Americans with disabilities that don't have the work that they desperately want. And more important than that, they don't even have the opportunity to get that employment. Whether it's transportation, medical care, or any other thing that's a barrier for them to work. These are the things we need to remember, and these are the things we need to work on as Americans. Because in America, there's 2 things that people want to know about you: your name and what you do. And sadly, for the millions who don't have work, they're just marginalized. And we can't let that happen in our country.
The logo for the National Council on Disability appears. A young African-American male in a t-shirt with dreadlocks.
Yo, what's going on? My name is Question. I'm a freestyle rap artist from East Point, Georgia. I'm blind, and I'm gonna just share with y'all some of the talent. Get on the beat and it's a challenge. Rip it up like it's claws of big talents. Coming in, going crazy like we should. Shout to the people in the suburbs, in the hood. To everybody watching it, yeah, we see you clocking it. People hating on it, but no way they could be stopping it. Shout to the people commenting, we got it going on. Going crazy on this and we going far. Trying to manifest dreams, stacking big cream. I'm talking about the money if you don't know what I mean. Cash rules everything around me. King of the freestylers, so please crown me. Diamond in the dirt, shining now that they found me. Blind kid going crazy, yeah, the vision's cloudy. I could tell them about the times I was struggling. In school hustling, making music, no, the sound is not muffling. It's coming out with clarity. Some people scared of me, but the words keep on varying. Versatility as I'm coming off the mental. Sick out the dental, on this instrumental. Can you comprehend and understand what I'm speaking? Talking to the choir and it sounds like I'm preaching. You can tell it's not written cause sometimes I stumble, but I never mumble and the words ain't jumble. We coming right back to attack like something in a pack. So shout to all my people in the back. I max and relax till I find a new pad. Get a mansion, sit back, might take a cap knack. Roof to the dogs. Jump like a frog to the top of this rap game. I'm coolin' and I'm smooth, never have to act lame. Just trying to figure how to post and sit back, man. Take a picture moment, it's so Kodak, man. That's the brand, feeling so cool, feeling myself, stacking these grands, getting the bands, shout to the band. The beat coming off of YouTube, making a jam. I made a slam.
A middle-aged woman with a scarf sits on her patio.
Hello, my name is Karen Goss. On behalf of Transcend, the Mid-Atlantic ADA Center, and the ADA National Network, I want to add our voices to the many members of our community, including businesses and people with disabilities, who are celebrating the 75th year of the National Disability Employment Awareness Month, NDEAM. As you know, it's also the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. NDEAM's theme this year, increasing access and opportunity, ties in nicely with the ADA, which was passed to protect the rights of individuals with disabilities, including in employment, and to ensure equality of opportunity, full participation, independent living, and economic self-sufficiency of individuals with disabilities. Let's do our part to learn all we can about the ADA and continue to work for increased access and opportunity in employment for all individuals with disabilities. Know your rights and responsibilities under the ADA. Reach out to learn more. Celebrate success and continue to move forward for full inclusion of people with disabilities in employment. You can make a difference.
The Fun Facts Magnifying Glass.
Hi, I'm Michelle Stowell, Paralympic champion and former cabinet minister responsible for persons with disabilities in the Legislative Assembly in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. America has enjoyed 30 years of ADA legacy to improve accessibility and promote inclusion for everyone. It's amazing. But here in Canada, we've been there right with you. Well, 29 years later. You see, we finally passed the Accessible Canada Act in May of 2019. But fun facts? We don't build accessible housing except if it's government subsidized. And we removed the regulations for accessible parking, and we don't include sign language as a default in government messages.
Michelle shrugs. Photographer Elizabeth Roschard captures a photo of a couple who are wheelchair users posing in front of a Capitol building framed by the graceful silver arc of the Gateway Arch. They are close together as though about to kiss. The NDEAM logo splits down the middle and moves left and right. The word employment emerges in the middle.
Hi, I'm Jill Houghton, President and CEO of Disability In. We're living in unprecedented times. During this global pandemic, nearly 1 in 5 people with disabilities have lost their employment. And while this is a really bleak reality, I believe that we have a grand opportunity. In July, Disability In launched a campaign called Are You In?, which is an invitation for all to join in driving for an inclusive global economy that includes people with disabilities. To date, nearly 26 CEOs have joined in, 25 investors, and nearly 2,000 people from companies all over the world. Are you in? To learn more and to join in, go to in inforinclusion.org.
The Disability In logo with the words, "Are you in?" To learn more and to join in, go to inforinclusion.org. A male wheelchair user sits in front of a beach backdrop, swaying his head to the beat. His outfits change as he sings. He wears a surgical mask and a face shield.
I am a master of my own domain. I manifest destiny. Every day I am a captain
He wears a nautical hat.
of a sinking ship. Whatever happens, I go down with it.
A red beret.
I'm a soldier of fortune with nothing to lose. A stone cold killer when I sing the blues.
He wears a press pass.
A man of many words with nothing to say. I know what you're thinking. It sounds cliche.
The colors invert.
Everyone's the same. Everyone is strange. Everyone's the same. Everyone's insane. I'm a dark horse.
He wears a black ski mask.
And I'm dead to rights. In a dog-eat-dog world, I'm always ready to bite. I'm a monster.
A bear head with sharp teeth.
Armed to the teeth, and if I want to, I'll put you 6 feet deep. I'm a king among clowns on a lonely throne.
An American flag cap.
Everything I touch turns to gold. I'm a devil in disguise. You better pray. I know what you're thinking. It sounds cliche.
Now a pink-haired woman.
Everyone's the same. Everyone is strange. Everyone's the same. Everyone's insane. Everyone's the same. Everyone is strange. Everyone's the same. Everyone's insane.
The man wears the bear head. The pink-haired woman mugs wearing sunglasses and a sideways baseball cap and dancing in place. The man wears the ski mask. Then the woman wears cat-eye sunglasses, a black corset, and a floppy black hat. She grooves to the beat. The man wears a black bowler hat with a feather.
Everyone's the same. Everyone is strange. Everyone's the same. Everyone's insane. Everyone's the same. Everyone is strange. Everyone's the same.
The pink-haired woman using a wheelchair purses her lips and pulls a trilby down low over her eyes. The end. Vocals by Audie Angel and Tobias Forrest. As credits scroll, Audie plays air guitar, then she and Tobias dance in their wheelchairs.
Everyone's the same. Everyone is strange. Everyone's the same.
Full credits are posted on the ADA Lead On website.
Hello, I have with me today William Tipper Thomas, or as he likes to be called, Tipper. Tipper is an advocate, engineer, and survivor who uses his experiences as a platform to address issues in an attempt to make life better for someone else. So, Tipper, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and your work and how you got to where you are today?
So, I'm an engineer by day. I work for a defense contractor. My title is Senior Principal System Safety Engineer. I've been employed with my employer almost 10 years now, fresh out of undergrad in 2011. My injury happened in 2004. I was an innocent victim of a shooting at my high school that resulted in my paralysis as I was helping a classmate to safety, and it resulted in my paralysis.
You were a person living with disability who was receiving some kind of services from the state to offset your cost of living, you know, your monthly cost of living, right? Which by all accounts exceeded that of an able-bodied person. I mean, a person going to college in a wheelchair is gonna have a lot more expenses per se.
Indeed it is. When I was first injured, I was put on disability benefits, and I was on disability until I graduated, all throughout my college career. But when I started working and I reported to the government that I was working and I reported what my salary was, they instantly told me that my benefits would be canceled due to the amount of money that I was making.
These are all your expenses that have been covered, and now that you've achieved something, like I think you talked to me before about getting a raise, right? Getting a raise, you've achieved something, you've elevated yourself, and now all of a sudden, what happens?
Well, in my situation, my raise would have been me getting my degree because my degree calls for a certain minimum standard of a salary. And that minimum salary was above the threshold for me to be able to receive benefits.
So just boom, snap, it's gone, right?
Done. Right. There was no, here are other resources that you can apply for to help offset the cost of your disability. And as I learned throughout the years, the salary that I make pretty much maxes me out of all, even nonprofit grants, any other organizations who may provide supplemental income to offset the financial hardships that are associated with a disability.
So you have to show it's not just state, but grants and other possibilities for you to elevate yourself that might be there for you had you not achieved.
So here's the funny thing. When I was going through my recovery process, the doctors at the University of Maryland Shock Trauma Center asked me, I was at pretty much a fork in the road. Which way was I going to go with my recovery? Was I going to try to live life as independent as possible, or was I going to try to, take my time and, ease back into the world? And I said I still wanted to go to school, and I still wanted to try to live life as independent as possible. And they said, well, okay, well, now you have another decision to make. They said, now that you want to go to school and you want to live as independent as possible, you have pretty much two choices in majoring in college that are going to start you off at a starting salary that will allow you to live independently. Either I could be a doctor or an engineer. So between those two choices, they both started me off above the cap that would allow me to receive benefits allow me to receive disability benefits.
You need to not achieve so much, right?
I should have been something other than a doctor or an engineer. Right, it's almost as if we're being punished for trying to be, contributing members of society. It's as if because we make a certain amount of money, we no longer have a disability.
How can we rearrange the structure so that a person wanting to achieve, is not punished by the system? What can we do to restructure this idea? What can we tell lawmakers?
I think if there's a human factors study done and the pros and cons of receiving benefits versus being a contributing member of society by returning to the workforce, it'll be clear as day that most people who are with a disability that are in the workforce, they still can't afford their disability.
All right, Tipper. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I really appreciate it. And as usual, you're looking good.
Appreciate you, Danny. I always look forward to working with you, and I appreciate you sharing your platform with me. Just trying to do my best to fight the good fight and, like you mentioned earlier, make life better for somebody else.
Thanks, Danny. Like Tipper, a lot of folks with disabilities face barriers to employment. One of those barriers is misinformation about benefits and work. Lots of people have been told that if they're on benefits, they can't get a job or they'll lose their benefits. This is simply not true. So let's talk about some options folks have that you might not know about. There are these things called work incentives, and they're policies put in place to make it easier to go to work without losing your benefits. There's the student earned income exclusion. If you're under 22 and you're in school, you can make up to $1,900 a month and not have it affect your SSI. Even if you're over 22 and on SSI, you may have heard that once you start working, your SSI goes away, but that's not how it works at all. For every dollar you earn, your SSI is reduced by 50 cents. When you make enough money, your SSI goes away completely, but at that point, you're making twice as much money as you did on SSI. In addition to that, through a program called 1619B, you get to keep your Medicaid. So think about that. Maybe you're making twice as much money as you used to, and you still have your full medical coverage. Many people have also been told if they're on benefits, they can't save for the future. This is also not true. ABLE accounts are a great way to save and not put your benefits at risk. If your disability onset was before age 26, you can save up to $15,000 a year and up to $100,000 in this account and not have it affect your SSI or your Medicaid. There are lots of resources out there too to help you out. You can check out www.db101.org. That's a program through the World Institute on Disability. In 10 states, we show you information about these benefits and other work incentives to really help you choose employment. We have calculators, tools, information, everything you need to make a more informed decision. In addition to that, there are work incentives planners available to you for free through choosework.org. Find a work incentives planner in your area, and they can help you make decisions best for you. Here's the thing. If you want to work, you can do that. Maybe you start with a summer job, and maybe that summer job leads to a part-time job. And then maybe that part-time job leads to a full-time job with benefits. You can build the employment and economic future that you want for yourself and your family.
Now, a word from the Campaign for Disability Employment.
I'm a wife, a sister,
and a grandfather.
I'm an office clerk.
I'm a research analyst, dance fitness instructor,
Actor.
I'm a copywriter,
I'm a veteran.
I have lupus,
Cerebral palsy.
I'm blind.
and I'm working in a job I love.
Because I was given a chance
to contribute my skills and talents.
To show that my disability is only one part of who I am.
Who I am.
Who I am.
At work, it's what people can do that matters.
For more information, visit whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
Crystal Baker, National President of AT&T's Ability Employee Resource Group. Employers can be part of the suicide prevention solution. Here are 4 key truths you should know and act upon, referenced by Jamie W. Vink of Sierra Tucson. Number 1, risk factors. Prior suicide attempts, family history of suicide, mood disorders, and substance abuse. Things you wouldn't typically know about your coworkers. Number 2, warning signs are talking about wanting to die, feeling helpless, being a burden. Employers can quickly step in and provide support and follow-ups. Number 3, protective factors are feeling of connectedness, problem solving, strong peer support, and access to treatment for mental health issues. Number 4, create a safe environment, build relationships and connectedness, support and teach emotional regulation, create a culture that says it's okay to not be okay and it's okay to ask for help. I challenge you to make your workplace a safe place to belong. You just might save someone's life.
In large bold letters, the word raw appears. Hands press into an asphalt surface. Sneaker-clad feet rise into the air. On a residential city street, Anna Gashan, a young woman, dances with her brown hair in a low ponytail. She rises and does a spinning leap, then stops, balancing on her right foot with her left leg bent behind her. She moves backwards, then wraps her arms around herself. The woman stops with her feet planted wide and her arms stretching toward the sky. Her fingers twitch. As a car passes behind her, she thumps her chest and arches backward. She raises her arms again, then repeats the gesture, arching lower and lower. She falls and pushes herself up into a backbend. The screen splits into 2 scenes. On the right, the young woman dances athletically, moving from a backward somersault onto her feet, then into a backbend. On the left, she slowly draws her arm across her mouth, stretching her slack lips. On the right, she goes from a handstand to a backbend to a standing position, pivots and leaps, stopping suddenly, then changing directions. On the left, the young woman slowly undulates her spine. On the right, she moves her ankles and knees fluidly, making her legs appear jelly-like. On the left, her movements intensify, starting to match the energy of her vigorous dancing on the right. Her movements slow again. She arches backward, raising her arms overhead. The split screen disappears. The young woman straightens, then arches backward, slowly drawing her open hands over her hips, torso, and breast, up to her shoulders. Then repeats the motion, drawing her open hands up over her body to her shoulders. She raises her hands above her head, then straightens. The young woman's hands press into the asphalt. Her sneaker-clad toes touch the ground behind them.
Happy National Disability Employment Awareness Month. I am Kevin Webb, Director of the Mitsubishi Electric America Foundation, and I'm pleased to join you in celebrating the 75th year of this commemorative month as well as the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Increasing access and opportunity. As I reflect on this year's theme, I'm pleased to report that the Mitsubishi Electric America Foundation is also celebrating its own 30th anniversary. For the past 3 decades, the foundation is working toward increasing access and opportunity by supporting innovative mentoring, internship, and vocational educational programs to empower youth with disabilities. However, I'm also reminded that in these unprecedented times, we need to remain vigilant. We need to continue to work to increase access and opportunity for people with disabilities to become a fully inclusive society. We at Mitsubishi Electric look forward to continuing to work with you to achieve full, competitive, and inclusive employment for people with disabilities. Lead on.
Here's Crip Hop Nation's Leroy Moore with photos of Paul Longmore by Tom Olin.
Fun fact, on October 18, 1988, disabled writer Paul Longmore burned his book, The Invention of George Washington, to protest the fact that earning too many royalties would wipe out disability benefits. Because disabled people should be punished for trying to work, right? This act of defiance sparked the creation of legislation called Ticket to Work, Work Incentive Improvement Act, TWIA. TWIA was signed into law December 17, 1999, under President Bill Clinton. Thanks, Paul.
Photos used by permission, Tom Olin Collection. A poster for a movie, The Journey, exploring how trauma affects Black women through sound and movement. The poster features a lighter, wispy abstract design like smoke. A quote from the filmmaker, Safia Eshe-Gayassi. I'm putting the lights back into Black space while giving Black women and girls the gift of self-healing and the freedom of self-expression. The NDEAM logo splits down the middle and moves left and right. The word entertainment emerges in the top center of the screen. Now, a young woman with pink lipstick.
Hi. You might know me for the fashion industry, or an activist that loves to start revolutions. If you don't know who I am, I go by Jillian Mercado. I am a 4-dimensional layered individual that lives on this planet that you and I call Earth. One of those layers is disabled. I am a physically disabled model, activist, and actor whose career thrives in the entertainment world. You might be amazed, you might be inspired, but for my community and I, it's been a long time battle to feel represented and respected. Do you know that disability is the most underrepresented minority in Hollywood? Yeah, it's literally always been a problem. Our stories are just not written by us in mainstream media. In 2016, out of 100 top grossing movies, there was only 2.6% of the characters depicted had disabilities. 95% of those characters with disabilities in the top 10 TV shows were played by non-disabled actors. Pretty much every movie you have seen has had someone who is disabled. That was definitely most likely not. The only way this changes is by hiring us, not only in front of the scenes, but behind in the writer's room, production, casting, giving us accessibility to opportunities where we can tell our stories. It's time we get paid for these stories you all love to watch. Representation matters.
And now, Maysoon Zayed interviews Ryan J. Haddad from the Netflix comedy, The Politician.
And Ryan, I want to talk to you about Hollywood. So my first question is, who was the first person, or what was the first thing that you saw that made you say, I want to be part of that world? I want to be an actor.
There were a few. Sister Act 2 with Whoopi Goldberg, not the first, but the second. I Love Lucy and Brandy Cinderella.
Brandy Cinderella. I Love Lucy. I Love Lucy was like a huge, huge influence in my life. And still to this day, I'm looking for that like Ethel Lucy buddy comedy that I haven't seen in a long time. You and I should work on that together. I think it would work out.
It would be great. Oh my God.
You could be my little Ricky. So who was the first person to burst that bubble? Who was the first person to be like, that's cute, you have a dream, but you're also a brown cripple, and you are competing with me in the Oppression Olympics because you also have the LGBTQT thing going on. So who was the first person to be like, I don't think this is going to be as easy as you think?
It wasn't my family. My family built me up, and they tried to make, they didn't even let me realize that I was in the Oppression Olympics at all. They just were like, you're a star. And yet they wanted me to be an accountant or a journalist, which they thought was a more secure profession. Can you imagine journalism, especially now? But there was an acting teacher who said, if you don't stop performing with your walker, you're never going to be cast in anything. And that was her attempt at tough love to get me to be more quote unquote normal and castable. And that was the first, and I was 8 years old. So you then carry that through your life and all the way through adolescence. And then in adolescence, you start to see that like, oh, I'm not getting the parts that I want. I am getting the parts that are old and gray and off to the side. What is that about? So you start to believe that it's true. And it took a while to realize that I could surmount that by creating my own work.
Was there a moment where you actually opted to subject yourself to pain and try and get rid of the walker to pass? Or was it just something that haunted you?
No, it haunted me. I didn't try to get rid of the walker. I knew, even at that young age, unable to articulate it, that if you took the walker away from me in the middle of a performance, I would not perform. I would just be obsessed with my mobility.
That's really interesting, because that's the reason that I chose to be a sit-down stand-up, and I sit on a high stool, which kind of imitates the power of standing, because I was like, otherwise I'm just getting preoccupied the whole time. I can't, like, that's great that you did that. So this is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, a title that's too long and very hard to say with slurry palsy. But what is your one kernel of advice for disabled actors trying to break in the way that you have by being on 2 seasons of The Politician, by now being in a writer's room where you can, like, you know, push for disabled characters to be on screen? What's your one little piece of advice?
Don't be afraid to be too loud. You don't have to be annoying. There's a difference between being loud and being annoying. You have to be charming and loud. You have to be endearing and loud and make people want to work with you. Actually, that's my advice, and I think it applies to all performers and not just disabled people. If you're difficult or not fun, you're not going to get work. People want to work with the people who they enjoy. And so you have to make people, in every interaction, whether it's a 2-minute hello or an hour-long coffee, you have to make people fall in love with you and want to work with you. And I know that charm is not something that's easy to be taught, but half of this business is your talent and half of it is networking. And we are fighting a battle of wanting to get ourselves in the room, so you can't appear desperate and needy. You don't want people to pity you, so you can't pity yourself. You have to come in empowered and fabulous and make people say, I have to give that person a job because I want to spend the next 6 years laughing with them. That's my advice.
So I'm going to say thank you so much for joining us, and just keep shining. I can't wait to work with you myself.
Hello, my name is Lori Samuels, and I am the Accessibility Director at NBC Universal. We at Comcast NBC Universal are very proud to sponsor NDEAM and this fantastic event focused on increasing access and opportunity for people with disabilities. We understand the critical role that news, media, and entertainment plays in educating people and in shaping public perceptions. Comcast NBC Universal is very excited to be part of the growing change movement around authentic representation of disability in media. And so we are committed to supporting the employment of creative disabled talent, both in front of as well as behind the camera. At Comcast NBC Universal, accessibility is one of our core values. We understand that no organization can achieve diversity, equity, and inclusion without disability inclusion as a central pillar of their strategy. And there is no disability inclusion without accessibility, both in the physical world and now more than ever in the digital world as well. This includes accessibility accommodations in the workplace and accessible media with closed captions and audio descriptions. Thank you, and hope you're enjoying the show.
The word gumshoes forms the shape of a shoe.
Gumshoes is a story about 4 kids who form a school club detective agency. There is something very unique about our 4 kids in that each of them has a disability. And even more interesting is the fact that each of our 4 kid actors authentically represent that disability. For example, a character who uses a wheelchair is portrayed by an actor who uses a wheelchair. A character on the autism spectrum will be portrayed by an actor on the spectrum. Now more than ever, the industry must realize the importance of this, because in film and television, for kids, if you can't see it, you can't be it. During this time of social distancing, the parents of these 4 kids filmed on location at their homes. And now, let's meet our gumshoes.
A boy using a wheelchair sits in a yard. He tosses a ball against a stucco wall,
Interesting.
then writes in a red notebook.
My name is Sloan, Cooper Sloan. I am a gumshoe. Gumshoe. That's the name of my special investigator club. Our game solves the unsolvable. We reveal the truth, expose culprits, and get to the bottom of things.
A boy with glasses.
I'm Alex Williams, and I'm one of the gumshoes. What makes me a good gumshoe? I'm getting my merit badge in environmental science. Then I'll be a nature scout.
Samantha Walker here.
A blonde girl.
Sam to my friends. I'm one of the gumshoes. What makes me a great detective? I love to solve mysteries because I've got an answer to everything. I'm light on my feet, quiet like a cat.
A teenage boy plays billiards.
Hey, what's up? I'm Sid Davis, and I'm a gumshoe. One thing that makes me great at solving cases is I can memorize stuff. Words, pictures, you name it.
Cooper.
Definition of gumshoe is a private detective or sneaker so named for the rubber soles they put on their shoes for stealthy sneaking. Origin, 19th century London. When the bobbies, London for cops, put rubber soles in their shoes to find Jack the Ripper. I'm good at picking pockets. And also,
Sam pulls a bobby pin out of her hair and fits it into a padlock.
locked.
She opens a sliding door of a garage.
I remember songs,
Sid.
poems, stories, and can do just about any sort of puzzle. That's why they call me Puzzles.
Alex.
My code name is Ranger. I know all kinds of things about nature
Ranger sniffs a rose.
and animals. I love animals, and they really love me too. Isn't that right, Clyde?
A tortoise.
I can hide really well. Anywhere.
Sam's in a tree.
No one sees me coming. That's why they call me Snoop.
Cooper.
I'm a history buff. I can memorize facts. I know pretty much everything about computers. And my dad owned a gadget shop, so I got supplies. My code name is Gadget.
Puzzles.
I'm great at setting courses, and I love adventure. I draw maps of everywhere I go.
Outside, Puzzles looks around and writes on a notepad.
I'm learning echolocation.
He sweeps a white cane.
There's an object nearby. Maybe it's a trash can. Yep, it's a trash can.
Snoop Sam swimming rises from a pool.
To be quiet, it helps if you can hold your breath. We've all taken the Gumshoe's oath. Here it is, so you can learn it too. Today and every day, I'll be fearless in finding the truth.
I will always be honest with my team.
I will use all my skills and knowledge to the best of my ability. This is the
Gumshoe's
Gumshoe's
oath, and I swear
and I swear to uphold it.
A photo of each gumshoe appears with their name: Gadget, Ranger, Snoop, and Puzzles. Gumshoes. Created by Amy Buchwald and Danny Woodburn. Contact the Mulberry Tree Group, 323-376-6317. Full credits appear on the ADA Lead On website. Logo, the Mulberry Tree Group. Answers in Art. Now a fun fact from SAG-AFTRA board members Anita Hollander and Christine Bruno.
Hollywood loves #diversity.
But disability is rarely included.
Only a handful of entertainment has authentic disabled casting.
Disabled professionals aren't only absent from our screens, but also behind the scenes, whether it's in the writer's room or on the crew.
On the rare occasion we do see disability in entertainment, it's almost always cisgendered straight white men.
Diversity is definitely lacking.
Disabled talent exists, and we're ready for our close-ups.
A painting from Rainbow Moss Show called Tree of Life. On a vivid light blue background, the long brown hair of a person curls upward in a ponytail and branches off into the trunk and different branches of a tree, with leaves, multicolored dots, and symbols among the branches. In the upper left corner is a rainbow heart. In the bottom right corner is a brown eye with a heart-shaped iris. And now, here's Zach Gottsagen from the hit movie Peanut Butter Falcon.
Hi, my name is Zach Gottsagen. And I am the Peanut Butter Falcon. I hope enjoy the show. Everybody has abilities. Yes, we can tell story. Stay tuned for the next show. Thank you. Bye.
Now, closing words from our producer-directors Terry Hartman-Squire, Maysoon Zayed, and Danny Woodburn.
Hi, everybody. For those of you who can't see me, I am now in my pajamas because the show is over. We hope you enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed producing it and directing it.
With disability over 25% of the population and only 2% in media, and even then, far from authentic representation, our NDEAM and ADA 30 lead-on productions hire 100% professionals with disabilities in front of and behind the camera, keyboard, including our production and ADA generation social media teams. #NDEAM.
NDEAM.
NDEAM. So we're able to hire professionals with disabilities thanks to our disability-savvy investors who rock. Once again, lead sponsor AT&T and gold sponsor Google.
Google that. And Comcast, NBC Universal's Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, 30 Rock.
Kessler Foundation, Woman of Her Word, 3Play Media.
Mitsubishi Electric America Foundation, MEEF, and our partner Transcend, the Mid-Atlantic ADA Center.
So on behalf of our 100% deaf and disabled cast, crew, production, and social media teams, we thank you. Remember, #ADA Lead On.
Oh, we also appreciate the Equity in Entertainment, the EIE Committee.
The EIEIO.
That's right. And this little piggy would like to thank the EIE Committee of the Casting Society of America and DisArt for ranking the talent in tonight's show.
So now there's no excuse. Now you know where to find real talent in front of and behind the camera and the keyboard.
And remember, not just October, but every month is NDEAM.
NDEAM, #NDEAM. And you can check us out on leadonada.org.
And now here's Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge winner Jen Musumba and her hit song Finally Home. to take us out with end credits by Exceptional Minds.
Thank you all.
And stay tuned
for our next ADA lead-on production. Hey, Maysoon, do that General Hospital soap opera star hair flip thing.
Yeah, I can't do that anymore.
Oh, I can.
Ah, you can. Here we go.
Jealous.
5 years old, dirt under my nails, throwing rocks at the bullies, saying you're not a girl. I was scared of my own shadow. I was in my own world, longing to be free from the trap in my mind where the black hole of circles distorted the time. But I fought with a champion's heart, determined to shine. Days burn, years pass, they say it gets worse before better. Found my own path, I wish I had seen this letter. You will be strong, you will be loved. Don't hide your face in your hand. Look to the sun, it's where you belong. Keep moving on. All grown up now, life's looking good. Got a place of my own, I'm where I belong. I'm finally home. Now I am strong, and I am loved. I am the person whose circle of people are loyal and true. And I'm not afraid now, got my face towards the sun. I'm where I belong, I'm happy and strong, finally home.
Audio description produced by Woman of Her Word and Cliff Hahn Sound. Voiced by Michelle Spitz. Full credits appear at leadonada.org. The ADA Lead On Mission Statement. ADA 30 Lead On was established for the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Our goal is to continue to bring recognition to the history, impact, and purpose of the ADA through celebrations of diverse disabled artists, innovators, advocates, and their allies. At this time in our nation's collective conscience, we are asked to confront harsh realities that are residual echoes of the American dream. As in every social justice movement in this nation, the disability rights movement was born out of the unfulfilled parts of America's potential and its unrealized and inaccessible dream. Whether it be for suffragists, freedom riders, Stonewall rioters, feminists, each arose as response and appeal to the nation. Do better, be better. However, even in those movements, the roles of ableism and racism were and are quite prevalent. That simple truth is what makes these ADA Lead-On celebrations even more significant. NDEAM logo appears. Visit us at leadonada.org. Check out our show ADA 30 Lead On that reached over 77,878 people with 93,533 impressions.